Hey everyone, it is Evan here from the Trade Risk on Thursday, July 5th. We're intraday right now, and this is our weekly trade ideas video, generally every Wednesday, but for the holiday yesterday, we moved it over to Thursday, so we're going to get out about a half a dozen or so names per the usual. We got half of these names coming from my watch list, the other half coming from our partners over at Investors Business Daily, and we're going to jump right into things. So the first issue that we're going to look at here is JWN. Now, Nordstrom is really a longer term name that I am looking at. So I think this is going to fit perhaps maybe a trader that is looking for a longer term hold, maybe some type of trend follower that is looking for a breakout. This has been consolidating for some time now, for certainly all of 2018, but really the past couple of years it has been moving sideways, really hasn't had a strong long-term trend or intermediate term trend over the past year and a half. But as you can see now, this is a weekly time frame that we're looking at, and you can see Nordstrom putting out putting up a bullish engulfing week here if it finishes Friday north of 52.81. So it is started off on the lows here, really engulfing the past several weeks worth of price action, and it's right at this $53 level where it has stalled for the past month or so of trading, and really all of 2018 it has just been moving in this sideways channel. So I think a longer term play here. It is pretty interesting. The daily chart maybe a little bit loose, but you can see here what it's looking like, trying to get that new closing high over the past couple of weeks here. So something to pay attention to. And also this is one that does require some additional homework. I know, for instance, I remember hearing chatter about Nordstrom potentially going private. So again, do your due diligence on this stock if you are looking to trade it. I'm looking at this purely from a price action perspective. So there could be some other factors or talks, negotiations, all that good stuff that is going on that I'm not too aware about. And also mind this gap back here from 2016. So I think price again can move quickly if it starts to get this breakout north of $53, $53.50. You get a nice kind of little price void here all the way up to $55. So things can move pretty quick if this gets the breakout. So that's our first stock there, is Nordstrom JWN. Next up is NXST. So this is a broadcasting play here, and really what I like about this is kind of a shorter term, just pullback play. So for me, I'm looking at the past 2 weeks as it is checked back from about $77 or so all the way down to some of these faster moving averages here. So if we draw this trend line, we kind of got this little flag, this little channel going on here after it ran from about 65 all the way up to $78. So it had about a $13 move. It retraced about $6 of that, so about a 40% retracement. And you can see now it's starting to perk itself back up. If we look at the weekly chart here, you can see it's above the rising 8 and 20 period moving averages as well, but it is still below the early January highs here around $82 that it made at the beginning of the year. So a little shorter term kind of pullback play here in a strong sector industry. So something to pay attention to there, NXST. Next up is TTWO. So this is a position that we do have on right now. This is a position that we got involved with last week, but I do think this is setting up for either a second entry, an add, or a new entry here for the stock. So if we zoom out here and look at TTWO, you can see there's some clear resistance going on here at 120. This is held. This has been where the stock topped out back in November, December of 2017. It also kind of fell from there earlier this year. It briefly broke above it, but then it spent most of this time kind of checking back, building out this upper level kind of base here, and now it's trying to stabilize and really move and start to trend to new highs. So we got involved in this back here on this reversal bar. This was our signal where we sent out trade alerts. Subscribers and I got long this stock, so we do currently hold it long, but for the past 4 days it hasn't really gone too far. It's just essentially moved sideways here and kind of sturdied up, put in a higher low, if you will. And if we can start to get a nice strong close over 120, that could be a nice sort of additional place to get long with some tight risk and or tight stop, I should say. And I think that could offer up a nice opportunity there. So TTWO, we are long it. We are looking for this close over 120 or so to sort of ignite some new momentum there for a first target of, let's say, retesting the June highs here of around 122 and change. So that is our second, or actually that's our third trade setup of this video. The last one from my list is DCT. Now this is a real estate investment trust, so it's a little bit of a slower name, but can't ignore the price action here. It's really just had this big gap up a couple of months ago in May, 11%, and it's really just moved sideways through time. It didn't pull back anything certainly meaningful there. It just kind of made its way back down to the $63 level once, and then it's been kind of tightening up here right under the $67 level. So if we look at the long-term chart of DCT, it's been an absolute monster here. It's just been basically doubling and doubling every about year or so, and now you can see again it's trading just under its all-time highs. It is a REIT, so do keep that in mind. But again, if you're a trend follower, if you're looking for a little squeeze here, a little momentum, if you like you know, the yield play here in this space, then above $67 I think can make sense. So that is it for my list. Let's now look at a couple from IBD's list, and this week I want to focus on the real big cap names, and I usually try and avoid these names because they're so talked about. Everybody is always looking at, you know, the Netflix, the Amazons, the Apple, the Google, Facebook. These are always names that are in people's radars, but I think these are interesting plays right here, and IBD does have these on all of the IBD growth list, the 50 list, and also some of these on their leadership lists. But what I like about Netflix here as our first name is that we have a catalyst coming up. We have earnings coming up in about 2 weeks for Netflix, and I think given it's held up so well, and given we've gotten this little bit of pullback, we've seen price tighten up here, I think it's at an interesting spot for a potential earnings run back up to these prior highs, just at the very least. So about a $20 or so target range up here, and I think you got some pretty clear, you know, risk defined down here right around 380, 385, depending on how tight you want to make this. But if we can start to get a breakout above $400, I think this looks interesting for some trend continuation and a potential kind of earnings run up for its release later this month. So that's the first idea there, is Netflix. The next one, also nice kind of commonly watched large cap name, is Facebook, and it's got a very similar pattern here, and really the thought process is kind of similar. It's trading just under its all-time highs here. It's pulled back, it's tightened up, it's showing some signs of a higher low wanting to get put in here, some buyers trying to show up here, and if we do get that breakout above, you know, 199 or 200, depending on how, you know, how tight you want to make your breakout. Some people may even just wait all the way to north of 203 until it clears that pivot. It also has that earnings catalyst ahead of us. So later this month, Facebook will be reporting earnings. If this holds up and if this can emerge from this tight pattern here, I also like it. Kind of the same thought process as the Netflix, getting a little tight in here, and you got a good spot to get a nice active sort of reward to risk trade for trend continuation into earnings and back to those prior highs. Finally, Twitter, and we've talked about Twitter plenty of times here. It still hasn't triggered, at least for the way that I would like it to trigger. It is still just getting tight in here and moving mostly sideways now. So for me, I'm still waiting for a more definitive, authoritative kind of breakout north of 45, 40, 45, 50. I think that would really kind of signal that this is ready to set in motion. You can see here volume is drying up here on the bottom of this chart as it consolidates. That is a promising signal there. Now let's see if we can get an expansion in range, uptick in volume as it breaks out to new highs. And again, Twitter does have earnings later this month, maybe a little bit of a squeeze kind of run up into that event. So that is all I have for today's video, for this week's trade setups video. Check out the links in the description of this video to get on board and to get access to IBD's leadership list, their IBD 50 list, for some of that idea generation and curation. And that is it. Thanks so much, as always, for watching, and I'll be back tomorrow with our weekend market recap video. Have a nice day, and talk to you soon.